All right, everyone, let's get started. Today we are talking about job site safety and hazard prevention, but not the kind that involves scaffolding, safety glasses, or OSHA regulations. We are talking about protecting your paycheck, your reputation, and this company's bottom line from a completely different kind of hazard. Crossing professional boundaries. When we work on residential projects, we spend weeks, sometimes months, inside a client's personal space. We get to know them, their families, and their daily routines. It is easy to get comfortable. But the moment you blur the line between a professional service and a personal relationship, especially a romantic one, you are laying the groundwork for a disaster. Mixing business with pleasure on an active job site is a massive liability. To show you exactly how fast this can derail a project, I want to share a story. Let's call it the $15,000 glass of wine. It's about a contractor named Mark who thought he could handle dating his client. Mark ran a successful mid-sized residential remodeling crew. He had a reputation for coming in on time, staying on budget, and running a tight, respectful job site. Then his company landed a six-figure custom kitchen and first-floor renovation for a client named Elena. Elena was smart, charismatic, and recently single. From the first design consultation, she and Mark hit it off. Their banter over tile samples turned into hour-long text conversations in the evenings. Mark told himself it was just good customer service. By the end of the demolition phase, customer service had turned into sharing a bottle of wine on Elena's dusty back patio after the crew had gone home for the day. Within a week, they were quietly dating. At first, it felt like a win-win. Mark was happy, and Elena was thrilled with the progress. But the foundation of the project began cracking almost immediately, and Mark's crew was the first to notice. It started with scope creep. Elena would casually mention over dinner that she'd prefer the premium soft close cabinet hinges instead of the standard ones they had contracted for. Instead of writing up a change order for the $800 difference, Mark told his lead carpenter, Dave, to just order them. "Don't worry about the paperwork," Mark said. "I'll eat the cost." Keep her happy. Then she asked for extra recessed lighting, then a slightly larger kitchen island. Dave and the crew grew frustrated. They were doing uncompensated labor, the schedule was dragging, and they felt like they couldn't speak plainly to the boss about the client because the client was the boss's girlfriend. The professional buffer was gone. The breaking point hit during week 5. While opening a load-bearing wall, Dave found severe, undocumented termite damage in the structural beams. Fixing it wasn't optional. It was a safety hazard and a code violation. It would require an extra 3 days of labor, an engineer's sign-off, and $6,000 in materials and wages. Mark sat Elena down to explain the situation, handing her a formal change order to sign. Elena looked at the document, hurt and defensive. "Are you really going to charge me for this?" she asked. "I thought we were in this together. Can't you just cover the labor at cost? Or just pull it from your profit margin? I've already spent so much." Suddenly, Mark wasn't her contractor anymore. He was a boyfriend nickel and diming her. And to Mark, Elena wasn't his girlfriend. She was a client asking him to pay his crew out of his own pocket for a problem with her house. The argument was explosive. It bled from the finances into their personal relationship, ending with Elena storming out of her own half-finished kitchen. They broke up that night. But the project wasn't over. They still had a legally binding contract and 3 weeks of construction left. The next 3 weeks were a nightmare. Elena became the most hostile, microscopic client Mark had ever dealt with. She communicated only through terse emails. She hovered over the crew, criticizing every drywall seam and paint stroke. The friendly environment evaporated, and 2 of Mark's best workers threatened to walk off the site because of the tension. When the project finally concluded, Elena refused to sign off on the final walkthrough. She withheld the final $15,000 payment, claiming the project was delayed, a delay caused entirely by the free upgrades she had asked for and Mark hadn't documented. Because Mark had blurred the lines, his paperwork was a mess. He had no signed change orders for the extra work, meaning he had no legal leg to stand on to demand the final draw. To avoid a costly legal battle and a permanent stain on his company's reputation, Mark walked away from the final $15,000. Between the unpaid final invoice, the free upgrades he'd eaten the cost for, And the blow to his crew's morale, that relationship cost his business nearly $20,000 and months of unnecessary stress. Mark didn't lose that money because he was a bad builder. He lost it because he compromised his professional boundaries. When you are working on a client's home, you have a fiduciary duty to manage their project, their timeline, and their budget. The moment a romantic element is introduced, the dynamic shifts. You can no longer objectively enforce contracts, write change orders, or manage expectations without it feeling like a personal attack. And as we saw with Mark's crew, it puts everyone else on the job site in an incredibly awkward and unfair position. So here's the absolute rule we follow. The contract must close before any relationship opens. We treat every client with respect, we provide excellent customer service, and we keep our conversations focused on the build. If you happen to meet someone on a job site that you genuinely connect with, do your job flawlessly. Finish the punch list, get the final invoice paid, and hand over the keys. Once the business transaction is 100% complete and they are no longer a client, you can ask them out. If it is meant to be, it will survive waiting a few weeks. We are professionals invited into people's homes to do a job. Let's keep it about the work, protect the crew, and make sure we all get paid. Let's get out there and have a safe, productive day. The Toolbox Takeaway. If this story is being used for a team meeting, here is the core lesson to emphasize to the crew. The power dynamic is a trap. You cannot be a fiduciary to someone's home and budget while also being their romantic partner. The moment money is involved, the romance becomes conditional. It compromises the crew. When the boss or a crew member is dating the client, the rest of the team loses their ability to work objectively. They are forced to navigate a personal relationship they didn't sign up for. The golden rule. The contract must close before a relationship opens. If you meet someone on a job site you genuinely see a future with, do the job perfectly, finalize the paperwork, cash the final check, hand over the keys, and then ask them out. If it's meant to be, it will survive waiting a few weeks.